I've done and what I believe. And before I go too far, let me introduce Mrs. Lincoln. Mary is here. She's never looked so good. And I want to say a special welcome to, well, first of all, everybody here, but especially to the young people who are here. I assume this is part of a government class assignment or something like that. Welcome. We really appreciate the fact that you're here learning about government. Let me tell you just a little bit about United for Liberty. This is an umbrella organization of freedom-loving people and other freedom-loving organizations. And if I dare, as Honest Abe say, in this room, in these assembly chambers, we need more freedom-loving people up here. And maybe it's through work like this that will happen. United for Liberty is very pleased to sponsor this event. Almost 3 years ago, David Cuddy and Michael Chambers came together and formed United for Liberty. The group has promoted events such as U.S. Senate debates, educational forums on nullification, and the Statehood Compact. And tonight's debate on my life is really exciting, certainly to me. Currently, United for Liberty is working on a program to evaluate and reduce the state budget. Amen. If you'd like to have more information about United for Liberty, please pick up information outside the chambers on the table out there. If you'd like to get involved, we'd love to have you. I just want to, before I introduce the moderator, read some excerpts from perhaps the two speeches that I gave that are the most remembered. I hardly thought that one of them would be remembered at all, the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Further in that speech, the world will little know nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us. From these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and if you know the rest, say it with me, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And that whiskers would stick. The second inaugural address before a crowd of 30,000 to 40,000 people surrounding the Capitol ended with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right. As God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. Abraham Lincoln, fighter for freedom. It's appropriate that United for Liberty would host this event. Our moderator tonight, who will introduce our debaters, is Mee Treadwell. Mee Treadwell is a businessman, an entrepreneur. That's how I first met him at least 30 years then served as the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation when I was a second-term member of the House of Representatives. That's in my other life. He also served as Lieutenant Governor after I did, and is currently the President of PT Capital. And if you know your periodic table of the elements, you know that PT stands for Platinum. And if you read that newspaper, and if you didn't, that's okay. This morning, you'd know that that organization was successful in raising $125 million this past year for work primarily in the Arctic regions. So best wishes to Lee Treadwell and the organization with that. He and his late wife, Carol, had 4 children. 3 of them are living and doing very well, and an incredible man, Lee Treadwell.
Lauren, thank you very much. You know, $125 million is a lot of Lincoln pennies. So turn those pennies into something else. But anyway, it's an honor to be here tonight. Last time I was at an event with this organization in this building. It was 2, I think, of 3 of us running for the U.S. Senate, debating in the room next door. Some of you were here. It was a remarkable night, and I think we're going to hear a remarkable debate also this evening. You know, when I first got the word from Michael Chambers that the title of the event he wanted to hold was going to question the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the legacy of Lincoln, tyrant or hero, I said he must have been taking a lesson from Donald Trump. I mean, you know, it was one weekend that after Donald Trump had questioned whether or not John McCain was a war hero, that my son and I sat around for weekends saying, what other absurd questions can we ask ourselves to grab attention? But I will say this, as someone who will stand before you and let you know my bias is, Mom, are you here? Where are you, Mom? Hi, Mom. Mom, your mom has told me that Abraham Lincoln was my 5th cousin 3 times removed. So I claim a little bit of family connection to the former president. I will also say that I was a Lincoln Fellow at the Claremont Institute, where one of our debaters went to school and studied intensively with a group of Lincoln scholars who firmly believed that Lincoln felt his role was to complete the founding of the country, and that he revered the founders of this country, and firmly believed that the principles of the Declaration especially were partly his responsibility to help us fulfill, which we later saw with amendments to the Constitution and the abolition of slavery. I have always, in my own political interests, had a very strong interest in bringing power home. And I think as you look back at the roots of federal power versus state power, it is important to have this debate tonight, because the issue is that the collection of states that we had when we formed a union has not always resulted in a federal union that respects the role of the states or the decision-making power of the people. And I think that's what we're going to hear about tonight from people who I both believe are concerned with maintaining our freedom and bringing power home. And so I'm going to do my best to be an impartial moderator, but to tell you that in work that I'm doing, I see my fellow Commissioner Ray Craig, our committee member Ray Craig, we're on a committee to try to help bring more land power back to Alaska. I also was appointed by the last governor to represent the state of Alaska on a compact of states trying to make sure we have a balanced budget amendment. And in doing this debate tonight, no matter how absurd the question or how important the question, I look at it either way. The point is that we should always be finding ways to bring power home and restore liberty and maintain liberty. So with that, I'd just like to say that whenever I visit the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, I walk up those steps and see those words, "In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever." And we actually do justice to Mr. Lincoln's memory by questioning those times in which he lived, which have so much to do with the times in which we live. Let me, just to give you a little bit of biographical information on our debaters tonight. Bob Byrd, who will be speaking for the affirmative on the question of Lincoln being a tyrant, was twice a candidate for the U.S. Senate in Alaska in 1990 and in 2008, once in the Republican ticket and once on the AIP ticket endorsed by Ron Paul. He's been an organizer of numerous freedom rallies for gun rights and constitutional rights, gaining support for HB 69 in 2013, which was a nullification bill against future federal gun control laws. He's president emeritus of Alaska Right to Life, and he tells me that several of his children are there at that dinner tonight. I'm sorry that we're conflicting. He's been a history teacher since 1974 and taught Civil War and Reconstruction, both semester-long courses at the secondary and collegiate level, and has been a radio broadcaster in the Alaska Baseball League for the Peninsula Oilers, as well as high school hockey, football, and basketball, where he has been a hockey coach. He is Abraham Lincoln's first cousin, 4 times removed, so perhaps a closer relative, but that may make us cousins as well. Has 8 grandchildren, is retired after 37 years with the Kenai Peninsula School District, and is currently adjunct professor at Kenai Peninsula College, and was the first ever recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award at the Marion Central Catholic High School in Woodstock, Illinois in 1992. Has his bachelor's from Bemidji State in 1974, his master's from Mankato State in 1992, where he wrote 2 theses. One, the 19th Century Physician's Crusade Against Abortion, and second, a history of the incorporation of the Kenai Peninsula Borough. He's been an Alaskan since 1977. Our other speaker, and somebody ran off with your biography for us. Oh, here it is. Dr. Forrest Nabors teaches American government for the Department of Political Science at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And Forrest, I just want to say that I've appreciated what you've added to political discourse in this community since you've come. It's been wonderful. I haven't always agreed with you, but that's the important thing about discourse. His book-length manuscript, The Great Task of Reconstruction, is the product of 10 years of research and is now being considered for publication. A recent article on the same theme entitled How the Anti-Slavery Constitution Won the Civil War is forthcoming in New York University's Journal of Law and Liberty, Federal Gun Control Laws, Volume 10, Issue 2. And he studied at Claremont McKenna College, the University of Chicago, and received his doctorate in political science from the University of Oregon in 2011. Now I'm going to ask each speaker to come up and state their case succinctly in about 5 minutes. I'll give them a 2-minute warning, and then we will go into depth on this question. Again, to restate the question. The legacy of Lincoln, tyrant or hero? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.